Hey Tubes, Brendan here. If you're having problems with your Ford F-150 backfiring or misfiring, you're getting some catalyst type codes on your scan tool, there's a very high likelihood that the catalytic converter is plugged. And normally the best way to test that is to use a tool that threads into the oxygen sensor hole, and then you can actually register the pressure of that. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not made of money, and I don't have that tool, and I don't really particularly care to rent one. But what I do have is an old vacuum and fuel pressure gauge, and so for those of you that have these tools lying around or know somebody that has one, I can show you how you can adapt to one of these so that you too can check the pressure of your exhaust system and see if your catalyst is bad. Alright Tubes, so what I've got here is, first of all, I wanted to just kind of show you the oxygen sensor itself. I just removed this from my vehicle. This is pretty much a standard part. It's usually made by Bosch. I guess there's other manufacturers, but they basically copy that design. And Bosch kind of has the market on the standard, at least. And it's an 18 millimeter thread, which, just as a coincidence, is the same thread as this guy right here. So what is this guy? This is a spark plug anti-fouler. So if you have a car that's burning oil, normally you'd stick a spark plug inside this, and this kind of shields it from the stream of fuel and oil that's getting in the chamber. I've used these before. They work all right. Obviously not the best solution to the problem, but keeps you from having to replace your plugs all the time, especially if they're in a tight area. And so they do work okay. In this case, we're using an 18 millimeter also to match this. There are many different threads, so you have to make sure that you get the 18 millimeter version, and you want to get the style that uses the gasket as well. There's two styles there too for spark plugs. One has a gasket and one doesn't, and you don't really want to screw up those threads on your where your catalytic converter goes in. You want to keep that gasket surface true. So you don't need to necessarily put the gasket on here, but you do definitely want to get this style anyway, and that way you've got a pretty decent way to thread in there. Then the second part of this tool here is just a simple 3/8 thread pipe fitting with a barb on the end of it. I had to use two pieces, but depending on what you get, you can go to any hardware store and hopefully you can get it with just one piece. I had to buy two. So, and these two pieces just bolt together. So it's not a perfect fit. Obviously, we're going from NPT to 18 millimeter, but I can tell you it almost feels like it is made for it, even though these are totally wrong for each other. They fit in almost perfectly, and when you snug that down, there is almost no pressure blow by. You don't need to use any Teflon sealant. You don't need to put anything on there. You can just put it on there for the purposes of what we're doing. And now you've got an end that'll thread in there and has the end on here. And then we can take the hose end on our gauge, which, like I said, I mean, this is a early 90s a vacuum and pressure gauge that I had lying around, and you can use any pressure gauge. You could use one that you got lying around for an air compressor. You could use one, just anything that registers pressure. It doesn't really matter. We're not going to be running this for a long time. This isn't designed to do this, obviously, but that's never really stopped me from thinking out of the box, which, as many of you know, is in rare form today. So the next thing I'll show you is with this kind of hooked up to the machine, or to the exhaust manifold. We'll go ahead and get that set up for you. You can see how that lines up. Alrighty Tubes, for the sake of simplicity, I've already, as you saw before, removed the oxygen sensor, and you can see the threaded part in there on the back of the exhaust manifold here, right as it exits. And this is the part that is right in front of the catalytic converter. Obviously, in order to test the converter to see whether or not that is the problem, you have to be in front of it. And so we're going to go ahead and get this threaded in here. So as you can see, this is a perfect fit. It threads right in there. because it actually is 18 millimeter. I mean, it is exactly the same. And so this threads, and you want to thread it until it seats all the way down. Again, this is why you don't use the shouldered version, because you really don't want to screw up this outermost part of the oxygen sensor bung. You want to keep that nice and true. So, and then you've got the nipple end here. So, and then after that, we just take the hose here and we slide it over. I usually do that second, and then what I'll do is, because my hose is pretty short, I'll actually twist this until the gauge, which is down here, points in my direction, so I can look under the car and see what our pressures are like. So I'm going to go ahead and get to that part so you can actually see that. Now, sorry for putting you upside down, but that's how we do things around here. So now we're inside the vehicle, or we're stepping into the vehicle, I guess. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is turn on the car and then immediately go under the vehicle and look at the gauge to see where it's bouncing around. And what I've been seeing is something around 4 or 5 psi. Okay, so we're going under, and as you can see, we are sitting right around 4 psi here. Okay, tubes, sorry for that cutting off a little bit early. To just kind of go over what I was seeing there. When I'd start up the vehicle, it would get about 4 psi of exhaust pressure, and then once the fast idle dropped off, it'd go down to about 1 to 2 psi. Revving the engine, I'd get about 6 to 7 psi. That's a little bit higher than I'd like to see, but honestly, I'm just not seeing a plug catalyst situation here, which is good because catalysts are very, very expensive. So when you're trying to rule out some of these problems like backfiring and those kinds of issues, you know, it's definitely an area that you have to look into. And basically an answer is an answer. And so hopefully this is, you know, this engine's got lots of different problems here. I had to pull the spark plugs earlier. Some of those broke off. That was a nightmare, but that fixed all the codes that I was having before. And so with no further codes to look into, you know, this was the next logical step to check. We know that we have to go under the valve covers to see what's going on with the clattering, so that's the direction I'm going to go. But I also wanted to make sure, you know, on the side of performance, you know, ruling out catalysts being one of the issues, which I believe we've done today. So although I'm not real happy with that 6-7 psi number with revving under revving, you know, it sounds in the normative range, at least to my uneducated thinking. So, well, hopefully this has been helpful to some of you guys. You know, sometimes you don't have the right tool to do the test, but this goes to show you that, you know, sometimes just thinking a little bit outside the box, you can come up with something that addresses a problem without having to spend a whole lot of money. So I hope this helps, and have a wonderful day. Good luck.